Can you imagine our universe without the sun? I can't. It makes things grow, it provides us energy, vitamin D for our bodies, the list goes on and on and on. So it just makes sense that the sun should have a show all of its own. We'll call it sun-centric, heliocentric. Hey, I hope you brought your shade. Just take a look at these gorgeous sunflowers. Aren't they beautiful? You can see where they get their name. Each bloom looks like a big orb of sunshine. In today's show, we're going to have a lot of fun radiating some great ideas for your home and garden. First, we're going to head to Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, where we'll break down the colors of the sun in a Skyspace exhibit called The Way of Color. Then we'll travel up the mighty Mississippi and bring to light a delicious breakfast recipe for all you early risers. Plus, I want to showcase 5 plants that not only perform well in the sun, but they thrive on it. Well, let me get these in some water and we'll get started. Don't go away. It's a common misconception that the sun is yellow, orange, or even red. Actually, the sun is essentially all the colors mixed together. Other than a rainbow, a great way to experience the separation of these colors is through a sky space, like the one at Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art. And my friend Scott Eggleston showed me how it works. Scott, what exactly is a sky space?
Well, a sky space was designed by James Turrell, the artist, and it's a collection of interactive spaces that a visitor would go in, sit down, and look up through an oculus, which is basically an eye to the sky.
Right, sure.
And that eye is the canvas. And while we're looking at that canvas, it is changing colors with LED lights, with the sky color. And so it's a real experience. The best way to explain how this works, imagine staring at a United States flag.
Right, intensely for a minute
trying not to blink.
Right.
And then taking your eyes away and looking at a blank wall. And so all those reds are now greens. and so Mr. Turrell figured out early on that he could manipulate light. In fact, when he talks about light, he imagines that you would see light that only you could imagine in your dreams.
You know, going in here, Scott, it just looks like you're entering into some sort of sacred space.
I think people feel like it's a spiritual place.
Scott, is it okay to step in the center here on this black sand?
It is. This is part of the interactive experience that we have people experience what true, perfect sound. And I think that's where Mr. Trail wanted you to understand that this is more than art, it's science, math, and so this is how we do it with the children.
What's the purpose of the black sand? Why is it colored black?
Well, I think the black is a complete contradictory look of the white sky or the blue sky, but it matches the radius, the diameter perfectly. So when you're sitting in here and it's raining, the rain and the snow are falling perfectly in this center circle, which drains out.
So the black sand circle is the exact diameter as the oculus above.
It is.
Interesting. That in itself is an illusion. The sand looks much larger, yeah. Scott, do you suggest an optimum time to come here and experience this space?
The best time for the evening show is about 15 minutes before sunset, and that show runs for about an hour. You know, it runs all year long, so if you come out here every day. If it's 10 degrees outside, it's 90 degree seats. We have heated seats in here, so
how convenient.
It's really nice.
We still have a whole lot of garden style ahead, including a staple in my kitchen, the lemon. From planting to squeezing, I'll show you how after the break. I have to tell you, my little greenhouse is one of my favorite places to be during the late winter and early spring, and for the very reason that some of my citrus trees are blooming. I love growing lemons, and particularly Myers lemons. It's crossed with orange, so it's rounder and it's got a thinner skin like an orange. I so wish you could smell how fragrant these are. And what's wonderful about lemon trees is that you don't have to have multiple varieties for cross-pollination. And in fact, with all these blooms on here, what I can do is I can actually encourage the fruit set by just taking the stamens here and taking some of that pollen. I could take it with maybe a little Q-tip and I could just touch right there in the center. And that will take that pollen into the plant and an embryo will form. But just look at all of these blooms. I can't believe every bloom is going to produce a Myers lemon. It'll break this little tree down. I do love to have these in the house, but I do want to recommend that you be careful and go ahead and get your fruit set in place before you move them in, because there's a little bit of shock that goes on. But I tell you, it's a real treat to come out here and work in the greenhouse and have them bloom. Now, a couple of things if you're growing them in containers or even outside that you need to know is that fruit trees really need to be fertilized about 3 times a year, in February, then again in May, and then again in September. You want to stop because you don't want to feed them during the period that they're not really in a growth cycle. So as we move into fall and we move into winter, we sort of back off of the feeding. And what you want to do is you want to feed them with a fertilizer that's blended for citrus. And one of the things that they really need, they need a slightly acidic soil. And for these plants, what I like to do each time I fertilize them, I'll just take about 1/2 cup and sprinkle around each one of them in these containers. What I'm trying to do is really make sure there's plenty of food there, because it takes a lot of energy for a plant to produce this many blooms. And what I'd like to do is get to sort of the level of color you see here. This one's a little chlorotic. This is actually not a Myers lemon over here. This is a Satsuma. And so its color is really not as good as what I'm getting with my Myers lemons. These can drop down to about 26 degrees. I've had them outside and it's been that cold and they've been okay. It's not the best for them, but if you can give them some protection, if you have a little greenhouse like this that you can keep them through the winter months and then bring them outside, put them on the patio, around the pool. They're great accents and ways to decorate spaces. So I think these citrus trees are very stylish. You know, there's something about the taste of lemon that just reminds me of summer. I love to take lemon-flavored herbs and infuse foods with that lemony taste. For instance, tea, lemon balm is perfect. You can also use lemon verbena for tea. To create a simple and delicious recipe using both of these herbs, try this Sunshine Lemon Herb Punch. Simply peel and core half of a large pineapple and cut it into 1-inch chunks. Place them in a glass pitcher and add a 46-ounce can of pineapple juice, 1/3 cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 9 lemon balm leaves, and 3 stalks of lemon verbena. Chill this mixture overnight, then remove the whole herbs and add 4 ounces of ginger ale, 1/8 cup of sweetened lime juice, and 3 lemons thinly sliced into rounds. Then just pour it into glasses and garnish with a slice of lemon, and enjoy. Still to come on Garden Style, if you can put sunshine in a bag, why not stuff it in a piece of French toast? But first, get your pen, paper, and gardening gloves ready. I've got 5 proven winners that are sure to beat the heat in your summer garden. It is so hot. I mean, it's hot. It's so hot you could fry an egg on the hood of your car. But you know what? It's summer. What do you expect? You know, our bodies are 70% water. That's right. Remember back in science class, 70% water? That's why we have to remain hydrated through the summer. Why do you think your plants would be any different than you? You have to keep your plants watered if you want them to be beautiful. You also have to choose plants that can take the heat. No worries, that's the reason I'm here. You see, I have 5 plants from my collection that will beat the heat. First, a real screamer. Primal Scream Daylily. This screaming daylily is a real showstopper in my garden. You see those large orange shimmering blossoms? Well, they just demand attention. And guess what? It's a perennial. It's gonna come back year after year. Next is Luscious Citrus Blend Lantana. I love all the bright pops of color. Kind of reminds me of a tutti frutti ice cream cone. Now another plant that's sure to beat the heat is the lovely Cheyenne Sky. You see, it's an ornamental grass. If you're trying to create visual interest, try using texture. You see, it moves with the wind and creates a beautiful soothing effect in your garden. You're gonna love it. Now this next plant certainly gives heat a run for its money, and it attracts lots and lots of beautiful butterflies to your garden. Of course, it's a butterfly bush. This one's called Butterfly Bush, lo and behold, Purple Haze. Woohoo! And finally, here's one for you. Love the name, Cranberry Crush Hibiscus. Doesn't it just sound delicious? This plant will grow up to 4 feet, perfect for filling in those large areas. And these plants have ginormous. Well, maybe ginormous is stretching it a little bit. Huge red blooms. And guess what? This plant comes back year after year. Well, there you have it, folks. 5 great plants that when planted out in the full, raging hot sun will not be bullied by the heat. Oh, and make sure you give these guys some good food, and they'll be happy little campers. After the break, a stuffed French toast recipe so good, you'll be racing the sunrise to make it. Nothing quite says rise and shine than a warm and tasty breakfast. While enjoying the Mississippi River on the American Queen riverboat, my dear friend Regina Charboneau took the time to slip away from her duties as executive chef to share with us this indulgent recipe. So Regina, this recipe is one of the favorites here on the American Queen riverboat.
It is. You know, when I was developing the recipes for the American Queen, I love breakfast, and I was thinking, well, what's a classic French toast, and what little Regina-ism can I do? So I stuff it with cream cheese that's scented with orange and cinnamon. And then, of course, you know, the riverboat, you think of New Orleans, so a little New Orleans topping the bananas Foster.
Oh, what a guilty pleasure is that.
It is, but that's all about being on vacation on the American Queen. So
you really start out with a really thick piece of bread, and you cut it where it's not completely cut all the way
Yeah,
through.
I just do a little pocket in it,
Right,
just a
right.
little.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to have you do is we've got some cream cheese here.
Right. How much cream cheese are we starting out
This
with?
is 8 ounces of cream cheese.
Okay, 1 packet of cream
Yes.
cheese.
And then
Orange
I've got
zest.
a tablespoon of orange zest.
Right. Powdered sugar.
And powdered sugar, 1/4 cup.
okay.
Sweeten it. And cinnamon. I love orange and cinnamon.
About how much?
That's about a half a teaspoon.
That about right? Okay. All right, and I'm going to work all this together.
Yes, get it nice and soft.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is take our sliced bread, again, that I didn't slice all the way through. Now what you can do if you can't get a whole loaf of bread, you can get 2 pieces and make like you're making a peanut butter sandwich.
Right.
Yeah.
So what,
And
about that much?
About that much. Just go ahead and get it in.
And do you want to just keep it in 1 dollop?
I think I spread it just a little bit, but you do want, let's put just a touch more in. There you go.
Okay.
Maybe
Spread
just
that around a little bit?
Yeah, that's good. And then we're just going to dip it in our 1 cup of half and half and 3 eggs. And again, you want to soak it a little bit. You want that custard to be absorbed by the bread.
How much butter would you like in here?
Just enough to brown it. Let's do about, I guess, about 3 little cubes. That ought to do.
Is that about where you want it?
That's about where I want it. So you want to get a nice color on it to get it started.
Looks like it might be ready. I'm going to go ahead and lift it off. Here we go.
There you go.
The way you cut the bananas, I think, is important.
You know, really important that you don't do little pieces because you want your bananas to hold their texture.
Right.
And if you do them too small, they get too mushy. And this is a wonderful base. I did butter and brown sugar and orange and lemon and
Of course, the
cinnamon
bananas.
and bananas
Yeah.
and rum. It has rum in it. So
Look at that. And this is the best time to eat it, when it's fresh and hot like
absolutely.
this. Well, this will certainly get your day going.
It will.
Put a smile on your face.
We need to get a couple of forks and eat
Let's-
this while it's hot.
let's do it.
We'll see you later. We're going to eat that.
Very good. There's more on Garden Style when we return. You know, there's nothing like soaking up some rays and hanging out with some hot chicks. How we doing down here, girls? Hey, I hope in today's show you found some ways to radiate your own sunshine, whether it's at work, home, or in the garden. I hope you'll join us next time. And along the way, follow us on Facebook and join the conversation. Until next time, for Garden Style, I'm Alan Smith. Okay, here you go. Have some grass.
We're on the street today to find out how much you know about the food you eat. I work double duty as an herb and a spice.
Pepper.
I love to self-seed so I may show up year after year.
Parsley.
You can eat every part of me from my roots to my seeds.
That is definitely cinnamon. Maize, corn. Cilantro.
Wow.